video. This time I did this in another time. I did the other one like at night. It was like 9 p.m. or 8 p.m. China time. Now I'm doing it around, I don't know what time is it, like 8:31 a.m. I want to see what is the difference between these two times. If people watch it at this time or watch it at the later time, I don't know exactly. But I hope some people are watching. But yeah, well, for the last couple of days, well, it's only been what, 3 days since I posted the last live video. Not that much has happened, except we're just working, staying busy as usual. But today I want to talk about certain things that I've been watching or seeing on YouTube and hearing and reading on the news. And my thoughts and my take on that. First, let's get it out. I just recently saw that Childish Gambino "This Is America" music video, and I thought that it was probably the most interesting thing I've ever seen. And I'm a huge fan of Donald Glover. Sorry. I'm a huge fan of Atlanta, which this season, man, Atlanta has been amazing. Like, each episode has like this interesting plot twist. Like the last one he did were the two guys, him when he was younger and this other kid were wearing the same football jersey, and they were trying to figure out which one is fake and which one was real. But I'm not gonna tell you the rest of the show, because if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. Check out Donald Glover's Atlanta. First season was good. Second season is like a next level. But yeah, the music video was very interesting. When I saw that music video, it took me a while to like pick up on the imagery, because there's just so much going on at each other. And it shows like how racism in America is at this point and how it has always been. And I feel like in America we're at a stage right now where everything is just up. The racism is just like up, like in the front, up in the front, and people are just like, I guess people are, not witnessing it more, but I think that people are trying to not let it happen, or not. It's hard for me to describe it, actually. Because I feel like in America everything is so politically like correct now. Like, you can't say this, you can't say that. Ever since Trump has became president of the United States, I feel like this rampant like anger between the alt-right and like people who live in the South and people who support Trump has become a louder voice. And a lot of this racism is starting to come back up again. Even though I feel like it's always been there and it's always been an issue, it's now hyperactive now. And for me, living in America, I feel like that's not how America should turn out to be. I think America should really face this racism issue head on and try to acknowledge the fact that America has had its issues and had its problems when it comes to people of color. And it's not just black people; it's just all races in general. We've treated some people unfairly, even the Native Americans, like mostly Native Americans. Well, so for me to talk about racism in America, it's not like a taboo thing to talk about, but I feel like it's a very difficult thing to like to I don't say understand, because I feel like there's so many layers of what America has done to not fight racism. You have a lot of majority of people who go to jail are people of color. People who are targeted by the police are people of color. And that's one thing too, like living in China is like one thing I've never have problems with is the police. I've never had police stop me and say, "Hey, you, let me see your ID," or like, "Hey, you, like, give me your, like, what are you doing here?" If anything else, police just don't talk to me. They just like, "Oh, you are just a foreigner. It's nice to meet you." Though Chinese people sometimes can be like, "Oh, like, you're a black guy, like, ooh, quite scary," or something like that. There are some stigma with that. But to be honest, I don't feel it as heavily, like as much as I did back home. Actually, it's weird. And maybe because I lived in the South, which the South is like notoriously like known for its racist past, it still does. And so watching that Childish Gambino music video, I saw a lot of imagery where it made me realize that like, especially like the intro where he shot that guy and like being chased by a mob of people. It made me realize that we have a lot to go in terms of settling this racism in America. And we have a lot to go to really make sure that everybody has equal rights. Whether it be poor people, whether it be people who are coming to the country, women in general too, the equal rights, equal pay, whether it be education. I think education in America needs a lot of help. I also feel like our roads I think our priorities need to be focused more in America than other countries. As an American living in America, or not used to live in America, till later, till now. So I feel like we really need to focus more on ourselves and try to build a better nation. But of course, we have a president now that's quite challenging. And then of course and it doesn't help the cause when you have a celebrity like Kanye West who says, "Oh, slavery was a choice." Like, here's the thing with me with Kanye West. I really like Kanye West. Well, I used to at this point. I still think Kanye West is an amazing rapper. He's an amazing musician. He makes good for a person in hip hop. He really has pushed the boundaries when it comes to music. Like, you can't say, well, he never has, because I feel like Kanye West has done just that. But the thing that what really like gripes my gears is that the fact that he says all these egotistical stuff, and he says all this nonsense stuff that really hurts his credibility. Some things he does says, I'm like, wow, I really like that. I really enjoy that. I really like, I can see eye to eye in certain things because he's a very creative person, and he's also a Gemini. So I feel like he should be smarter than that and should be smarter at what he says, but he doesn't. And so when he goes on TV, he's like, "Oh, slavery is a choice for 400 years." I'm like, well, what do you say? But then I realized, but I need to take this back. But then I realized what he was trying to say is that maybe, I don't know, mental slavery is a choice. Now, there's something I would like to say is that as human beings, as people, we shouldn't be trapped by materialism. We shouldn't be trapped and things that will keep us from progressing as human beings. And a lot of us have this problem, whether it be actually biggest problem is technology. Especially where I live and work, people are so in tune to their technology. It's very difficult for them to have a normal life, especially kids. They trapped into video games, and they trapped to these apps on their phones, and they don't really have a life outside of what they normally do. And for me, it's not a big deal that they like playing video games. It's not a big deal that they like playing on their phones. is that for me as a human being, I don't want to be trapped and confined by the uses of technology. I rather I'm it's funny, like Kanye said I'm a free thinker, but technically I'm probably more of a free thinker than Kanye because I don't let technology be the ruler of everything. And I'm always hungry and always thirsty for knowledge outside of the computer. And traveling, meeting people, talking to people, being friends with other people, or beyond that, doing art, writing, making music, things like that, intertwined with all these things in my mind and outside of my mind, allows me to be a free. But at the same time, you can't. Free thinking is not by being enclosed from society and not knowing the information at first hand. It's like, well, Kanye didn't even know that Trump was doing all these things, like the travel ban and these policies that he's been signing that really is damaging the credibility of America. And so, like, I feel like if you're gonna be a free thinker, you also have to have the knowledge to understand what is going on in the world. You also have to liberate yourself from the confines of technology. You have to liberate yourself from the confines of I guess the imprisonment of free press, which is hard in several countries. If your country doesn't allow free press, it's hard for you to be a free thinker. So you have to figure out, what can I do to liberate my mind? What can I do to be beyond what I can be in this world? And most people don't do that. Most people don't want to because they're either scared or because they feel like they don't want to know the truth, and so they don't become free thinkers. So they just go back to what they're used to, which is nothing wrong with that. I think there's nothing wrong with people being comfortable with what they can do and what they can see, because I feel like sometimes we get at a point of our lives where we're comfortable, and we're not, we have everything. Why do we need to change our way of thinking? Why do we need to change the way we see things in the world when what we see in this world is perfect? And I think that's the main problem with America right now. We have too many people who have too many opinions, too many ideas, but no one is actually working together as one. No one's like, hey, we all thinking the same thing. Yes, there's a group of people who are thinking the same thing, but then there's another group of people who are thinking a different thing, in which they think they're thinking the same thing, but no one's actually working together. And I think that's the difference between China and America sometimes, is that when there comes to like an idea, when it comes to a plan, the whole country's like, okay, let's do this. All right, everybody, because they know it's going to benefit them. Everyone knows is that it's going to benefit, the country. America, when, for example, like building a road, I would say, like, in China, when they say, we're going to build a road, people say, okay, that's cool. In America, let's build a road. Oh, no, you can't build this road. It's near the school. Oh, no, wait. This road needs to be that way. Oh, no, this road needs to be... And then the road never gets built. And the same thing with, like, our infrastructure. It's pretty much the whole reason why infrastructure is a big problem in America. And people say, well, it costs too much money. Yes, it does cost too much money. And, like, we can't afford all this. And, like, it takes so long and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, China... they just build stuff. They go with it. Though it might be health damaging, most cases. But people don't realize that if you need to upgrade yourself in order for you to be the leader of the world, you have to sacrifice a few things. Now, that might be controversial. I feel like that it's better for the country to move ahead than move back. The only way for America to ever progress is that everyone just needs to put aside politics and say, we need to fix our schools. We all work together. Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian, Green Party. I don't know, too many parties. We just need to work together. And then we'll see improvements. But then, of course, we spend $600 billion on military. So I don't know that we ever going to fix anything. But I also feel like in that video, what Danny Glover did, it's not really a small glimpse, but it's a huge picture and a huge visual on what it is like for people who really don't have a voice or have struggled for so long to have a voice. And like, in order for us to have a voice, we all have to realize that we all are equal and we all matter. But I think that it's going to be a difficult challenge for all of us. But anyway, enough talking about that. I probably just like rambling and probably don't make sense to certain people. But I think that for me, in order for us to change something, we all have to change ourselves in a way that it's positive and that we all can put aside our pride and work together to make a better life, not just for yourself, but for other people. And, you know, working and living in China, I realized that in China, everyone just wants to have a better life. They just want to make lots of money. They just want to be happy. They want stability. In America, everyone's too busy arguing with one another that they're forgetting that they have it good already. But they also realize that they also need to work on things to make it better. It doesn't matter if it's black or white. At the end of the day, everybody as one needs equal pay. I think everybody as one or higher pay. Everyone as one needs better education. Affordable college. I have friends who graduated university and still paying student loans. And that's like 8 years ago. I don't have student loans. But I feel like, you know, we have to focus on our priorities back home, because if we don't, we will get left behind the dust. The interesting thing is, the only thing America right now is ahead of is its military. And even certain countries don't need our military. Some countries do need our military. But I know there are going to be some Republicans like, you don't disagree with your country, blah, blah, blah. I just feel like it's not about Republicans or Democrats. It's not about like what you think. At the end of the day, I think it's all of us as one. We just need to work together as one and just propel this country even further. And I was watching this documentary on Vice. I forgot the name of that documentary. It was on Vice, but it was about the sharing technology and like blockchain and like how several countries will be the next leader of like, I think, the third industrial revolution. I wouldn't consider it the next thing to be an industrial revolution, but more like a sharing technology or technological or technology. A sharing technology revolution, I would call it, or some sort of like crypto technology revolution. I don't know. I'm not into crypto coins, but a lot of people are. But I feel like Europe and China will be the next leaders of the next revolution, or they're starting to be. Especially here in China, like no one pays with cash. We're a cashless society. I know in America, I still have to pay by check. I have to mail my bill sometimes, and you still can pay certain things online, but it's still not as cashless as China is. And then you have Crypto coins are starting to be more prevalent in several countries, especially in Asia. I mean, Japan, Korea, and even China, they're starting to allow crypto coins as currency. And so I feel like, America has to be that next leader as well, But unfortunately, our priorities are stuck on the orange Oompa Loompa, which is not really helping us at all. But anyway, enough talking about that. Today I have to go out and meet my coworkers because my coworkers and we're doing this thing with like paintball shooting. I've never done paintball shooting. I thought that's quite cool, and go out and shoot things like that. I brought one of my lenses with me. Actually, this is one of the lenses I use to shoot sometimes. My Minolta lens. I collect some certain vintage lenses to shoot. Eventually, one day, I will upgrade my camera. I got a Sony A5100 or 5100. I shoot all my videos. I take all my photos with that camera. But I am in the market for a second camera. So if you guys have any choices or any ideas, let me know. Might get the AR-7 III. I don't know. Everyone's like, get that camera, get this one, 4K and all that. I mean, here's the thing, like, I would love to shoot 4K, but I mean, for what I do, I'm not really entirely interested in 4K, not yet. For me, I need to really just dive in and take much of my time shooting and really get in depth with my shots. But I don't say I don't have the time. I'm just trying to like build the channel first, and then when I have a huge enough fan base, then I can kind of start to delve into the shots and delve into the camera work, because then I have the means of actually upticking the quality. I can uptick it now with lighting and maybe better shots, better ideas. But for now, I'm trying to just put videos out there, talk about what I feel, talk about what I think, adding music, art, all that. And then, once I have enough people like tune in, I can take a step back and then push it even further. I feel like once I have a big enough audience, then I can do it. Just like a rapper or a musician. Once you gain that fame, not gain fame, that's weird. Doesn't want to think like that. But once you gain the audience and once you gain that reputation, now you have to take it to the next level. Because that's what fans expect. It's not like J. Cole. J. Cole was hot and amazing, and then now he's kind of like, he's okay. That's one thing, like, a lot of people, like, actually, coming from North Carolina, J. Cole is probably the only rapper, not the only rapper out of North Carolina. Actually, we have P.D. Pablo. He was hot for a minute. And then we have Knife Wonder, who's this amazing producer. I'd like to meet him one day. He's not far from where I live. And then you have Little Brother. I don't know, these guys, I forgot their names. They're amazing rap group. I haven't heard from them in ages. J. Cole's probably the only rapper in North Carolina that's like prevalent, which is a big thing. But then even he's kind of like, I like J. Cole. I think J. Cole's an amazing rapper. I'm a Kendrick Lamar fan though. Out of the bunch, out of Drake, J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, I like Kendrick Lamar more. Not because he's a Gemini like me. I think Kendrick Lamar pushes the boundaries even further. And Kendrick Lamar is willing to like experiment and really like, I don't know, he's willing to try out new things, but he doesn't mind going out to the deep end and creating things. That's what Geminis do. Except for Kanye. Like you can take him back for now. Just bring him back when he's sane. But I think that Kendrick Lamar is probably my favorite rapper out of the bunch. But I like J. Cole too. I think J. Cole, he's kind of like, he has a little bit of both. And I thought KOD was a good album. I think it was probably his second best besides Forest Hill Drive. Forest Hill Drive and this one's probably his best work so far. Only because he pushed it a little bit farther. Though the biggest complaint a lot of people say is that it kind of felt flat in most cases. And his rhymes are like just subpar. I know Dead End Hip Hop did a review on that. And I would like to get on that channel because I like discussing about hip hop. I'm a huge hip hop fan. I mean, I listen to hip hop, I listen to rock, I listen to jazz, I listen to classical. You know, I listen. You know, my musical tastes go from like The Police to like Spandau Ballet to like, I don't know, J. Cole to like, you know, Metallica. You know, all these people. I'm a huge fan of music. Love music. Love collecting music. Like making music. You know, I think I'm a better rapper than J. Cole. Now I'm just. Actually, I think I am actually rap. I think if I really put my mind to it, I can rap probably better than most of these rappers who are famous now. But I don't really put much effort to it. But I am getting back into music, and I am trying to like put some stuff out there, because it's been a long time, and I have this creative itch to get back onto it. But like I feel like as an artist, and it goes back to the beginning of this video, as an artist, we have that. We're allowed to be free thinkers because we are artists. But in order for you to be a free thinker, you have to realize the situation, and you have to know the information, and you also have to be in the moment. You have to also be in that place where, not sunken place, but in that place, a moment of time, to realize what is going on. And then you can create this thing where you say what you feel and what you say. And most people say, well, I'm a free thinker, but don't know anything about what's going on in the world. You know, the irony is the crazy part about it is, like the whole Kanye West thing, is that I know more about the political landscape of my own country by just being far away from my own country. It's weird, right? I've been away for 3.5 years. And like, I know more about what's going on in the political landscape of my own country than people who even know about politics in their own country. You know, I know more about politics. I mean, you could say politics in China, but I know more actually about the whole political landscape of Asia and Europe more than people who are from their own country, most cases. And actually, to be honest with you, my predictions about North Korea, I said this to my friend before I left, actually came true. You know, I did say, well, North Korea might collapse in my lifetime. And he's like, oh, that's not true. That's not going to happen. There's going to be a war, blah, blah, blah. I thought that I had a premonition, I guess, or some sort of like vision or thought. And before I left to China, I had a discussion with my friend, a best friend of mine's, about, because we talked about Asia and talked about China, and we talked about North Korea. And I told him that North Korea cannot sustain its government that long because it needs money, and they're wasting their money on their nuclear program. And so if it collapses, it's only because they've ran out of money or because they are just tired of that regime and they need to change. And I also talked about them reunifying with South Korea. And I said it even to my employees that I work with at school a couple years ago. And they're like, oh, that's just hogwash. That's not going to happen. And like, I don't know, it's weird. It's happening. But at the same, but then now everybody's like, oh, Donald Trump is like, he is like the guy who's doing it all. But I said, not really. I mean, I would say this, he kind of, I mean, as interesting this might be, I think that Donald Trump kind of pushed it a little bit. I know I'm not a huge Trump fan, but I think he pushed it with his rhetoric and pushed North Korea to the edge, to the where they needed to change. But of course, there's other things where they had an earthquake and their nuclear plant collapsed, and so they ran out of money, and all that money was put into that. That's actually the real story behind that. But and then now they say, oh, Donald Trump will get the Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm like, oh, no, no way. I don't think he did anything for that. You know, I feel like the people who deserve the Nobel Peace Prize are the ones who try to put the countries together, not Donald Trump. He didn't really do much, except for just said some horrendous things and like agitated North Korea. If that earthquake never happened, as it allegedly said it happened, I don't think that. I think I still would be trying to like attack us. But I still believe that North Korea would have not lasted another decade. It's impossible, and even with help from China, I don't think it's. I think it's possible for them to like continue the way they are, without some sort of hiccup along the way. Eventually, they would have ran out of money anyway because of the missiles they used. Like it takes money to build that, and then they agitated China, of course, with their rhetoric. So like it would have been a cutoff point somewhere. So like I feel like there is a way for us to know that things change in this world, and things have to change in this world in order for us to progress. If there isn't any change, then we will continue to fight, we will continue to display our dissatisfaction, you know. And I think that's why like a lot of these leaders who have gone, like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they tried so hard, and I feel like we can't really look back in our past and try to remember these guys, but instead we need to take their message and really put it in this time, in this lifetime. You know, we need to stop reminiscing about these guys and try to find new Martin Luther Kings and new Malcolm X's and new leaders who are positive and are willing to change the world. And right now I feel like America just doesn't have that leader as of right now. People might get angry, people might disagree. I mean, Donald Trump has taught us all a lesson that we just need to be more smarter when it comes to voting. We need to be more educated when it comes to voting. We need to realize that, we can't vote a celebrity. We need to vote people who really want to work. Bernie Sanders. Or who want to work together, who want to put the country in a progressive mode. Because right now, I feel like this country is at a turning point. I think this country is in a turning point where we need somebody who represents the new generation of people. Kind of like where JFK represented the new generation of the baby boomers. We need somebody who will represent the new generation, who think like the new generation, and who can push this country forward for the new generation. The old generation already are retired. They have their money. They have their pensions. They relax. They have 3 or 4 houses. You know. And then of course you do have some people who are still struggling, who are older, and who are willing to join the fight and push this country even further. Because one day China and the other countries in the world will go by them. I mean, look at Germany. I mean, Germany is like way ahead of the States in terms of what they have. Of course, they have also having problems too as well. Now, no country is perfect. Each country has its own issues. But Europe, and I think Europe and China just like in that documentary I watched in Vice, will be the countries where will push further ahead in America. And then America realized, we need to do something. But for now, I mean, America still is like, the big thing in the West. I mean, it's the big thing still. I mean, media, music. I mean, music is part of media, popular culture, sports. It's still popular. I mean, everyone still pays attention to America. America is still kind of like where everyone either gets their inspiration from or still believes that it's the country to make dreams happen. And I feel like that's good. But America, within itself, has to realize that we have that potential. We have to let go of this ego, so we're the best nation on earth. They need to let go of that ego and say, you know what? We need to work together to prove that we are the best nation on earth. We need to work together and be up to standards with these other nations. And then they could realize if America does it, if America has the best schools and has the best infrastructure and has the best equal rights, then other nations will follow. But if America is being, is being still not let go of its racist past, still won't make schools better for people who can't afford it, fill all those potholes in the roads. I was watching that Donut Media episode about potholes. Shout out to Donut Media. We can't progress. So it goes back to that beginning of that music video with Childish Gambino. This is America. This is not just America, but I think it's a crying out to other countries who also feel in the same way. I feel like for me, if I was president of the United States, if you really want to make America great again, you have to look at the policies and you have to look at things that are not really helping anyone and make it all better for everyone. And don't worry about the 1%. I feel like people who are already successful shouldn't be punished. But I feel like people who can't get by and people who need help should be looked at first. They're the number one priorities for me. And I think that's what I loved about Obama as president. I know people are going to be angry, oh, you like Obama, so I'm subscribing to this channel. But I think Obama had something that this current president doesn't have. It's the willingness to work with people. Even though not many people want to work with him, Republicans. And his willingness to compromise, but his willingness to try to make this country better. Unemployment was way low. It was low when Obama, left. And he did a lot to help schools. He did a lot to better many aspects. And of course, now it's all being torn apart, bit by bit. But I think the legacy's still there. There's certain things I don't agree with Obama did. Like, there's certain things I'm like, no, you should have done that. But I think it's far from between. If I was president of the United States, my main goal is, if I was president of the United States, my main goal would be education, infrastructure. I think military wouldn't. I support the troops 100%. I think people who fought for our country, I think veterans still are not getting the treatment they need. I think veterans are still having issues with medical and getting help after fighting. I think those people are always getting abandoned. It's funny, we fight for your country, but they get abandoned. So I feel like we should use my effort to, if I was president, I would focus on veterans as well. But at the same time, I would use that military spending to put it back into the country and I think military. I mean, cool. We have a military. It's great, but at the same time, I feel like that spending can be used to help us, to help the country. But a lot of people, oh, that's socialism. It's not really socialism if you think about it, because at the same time, a lot of these, okay, could be socialism, and we've seen how socialism works and doesn't work. Like Venezuela. But America's, we are a lot smarter than that when it comes to figuring out what can we do for our own country. But if I was president of the United States, I would focus more on domestic policies, but I also feel like we need to work harder on foreign policy as well. Like, we don't really handle our foreign policies very well when it comes to talking to other countries. I feel like we do a lot of talking, but we don't do a lot of listening. Like, okay, we do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But instead, I feel like, and in most things in life, the best thing for you is to listen rather than to talk. The more you listen, the more you understand country's problems and how we could collaborate and what can you do and how can we fit in to help out your needs. America tends to just stick its fingers, oh, we can do this, don't worry about it. But for me, I feel like we have to listen before we act. We have to listen to not just people outside the United States, but also inside. Another thing, if I was president, I would fix is probably immigration. I feel like a lot of people who are already in the country should just stay, but they need, I don't know, I feel like if you're already in the country, you should find a way for you to be legalized and contribute back, which they already do. But I feel like it's a disaster with all these travel bans and like not letting people in and kicking them out. It's just ridiculous. I feel like people should, if you're already in the country and you're already working and you're contributing to America, you should stay. But you have to, there has to be a more concise and less bureaucratic way for people to work in the country. And so, and I think it could tell people who want to come illegally. Anyway, I feel like that's a very sensitive topic for me to touch. But at the same time, man, most of my family are immigrants. I think everyone in America, their family was immigrants. I don't think maybe a few people probably were like, their ancestors were already in. Native Americans have been there. And it's a shame, too, they're not being represented well. They've never been. And it's very sad. I feel like Native Americans need more representation. Never seen a Native American president. I've never seen a Native American, vice president or something like that. I never seen that. I feel like we always stick to the old guard and proclaim that we're for change. But we can't. But then again, there's a lot of countries, especially where I'm at, where the old guard, this is us, we're not changing. We'll give you a little bit here and there to make it look like we're changing. But the old guard is still there. And I think the biggest thing we have is the young generation. And the young generation just needs to just collectively put away your politics and say, we're the young generation. We need to push this country forward. And until that really happens, we're still going to have these issues. The baby boomers already had their time. Ironically, the baby boomers are still ruling the nation. So now we, as a whole, need to come together and work as one. And so, for me, living in China for 3 years, I just realized what I don't say truly miss about my country, but what I truly take for granted. I think what I like about my country versus what I don't like. And what I like is the fact that we can work together and like voice our opinions about things. And that's one thing that I don't see a lot here, you know, because of various reasons. But at the same time, I feel like what I really I don't say don't like about my country, but what I disheartening about my country is that we still have issues with racism, we still have issues with prejudice, we still have issues with like, you know, like that Me Too movement, where all these women speaking about the sexual assaults. Like women should not be sexually assaulted. Like women should be treated fairly and right. Guess I'm a feminist too. To that, maybe true. It could be a feminist. You know, all these like the Bill Cosby and the Harvey Weinstein. Like this is not necessary, guys. You know, I feel like, and then you also have like this cultural appropriation thing. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like when it comes to white culture, they don't ever see a problem with cultural appropriation, because I feel like they don't see it as an issue, because they feel like, well, they don't see it as like a cultural thing. Like, oh, it's my culture. Especially in America. America doesn't really have a one signifying culture. If anything, America is multicultural. So a lot of things get lost in translation. A lot of things get appropriated. A lot of things seem like it's theirs. Especially white Americans. Like, oh, I can wear a cheap out. But like, I mean, it's okay. For me, when I looked at it, I don't really think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's wrong with people wearing a Chinese outfit or a Native American outfit. But you gotta realize that people don't realize is that some cultures find that offensive, because that's their culture. And they always feel violated when other cultures try to take what they have. Most people don't get that. Most people don't realize that. Most people think, oh, well, you know, they're just wearing the clothes. Who cares? It's a bunch of nonsense. I don't think it's nonsense. I think that's what culture is. You know, I mean, I would say this. If a black person wears a qipao, a black woman in China wears a qipao, I think people might get offended. Chinese people might get offended. Might not. Who knows? But I always feel like it's always a double standard when it comes to cultural appropriation. Oh, it's okay. But then if a particular race or religion or whatever wears that certain similar outfit, there's always an outcry. But when it comes to white culture, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's okay. It's fine. It's no problem. Which, you know, I'm not trying to say that it's not wrong with that. In my belief, I think you can wear whatever you want. If you want to wear that, you can wear it. But you have to make sure you understand the cultural significance and reasoning behind those outfits. You know, like the whole Native American like headgear, people get angry about that because, oh, these Native Americans, they don't know stuff like that. And I feel like sometimes some of the culture appropriation is needed. It's need to be pointed out. But at the same time, I feel like this political correctness in the States, it gets a little bit too much. Like, okay, you go a little bit too far with that. And I feel like growing up in America, like, it happens all the time. Once you have immigrated to the United States, your culture is blended in with everybody else. You know? And also it's interesting how people in China say, well, it's okay. She can wear a cheap out. And I think, I mean, that's their title to their opinion. So my thoughts on cultural appropriation is that I think there's certain cultures that shouldn't be appropriated simply because of history. And a lot of people don't know the history of certain things. They think, oh, well, it's nothing. But if you don't read the information, again, trying to be a free thinker, you have to understand what the consequences are. If I wore a what's one thing that people get angry about? If I wore a samurai suit and or a samurai outfit and walked around China, I'm pretty sure people get triggered by that. I don't know. Or if I wore some sort of outfit that or I don't know, a Chinese Red Guard suit and walked around China, I think people get quite, I don't say offended. Actually, they might be, they might not. Of course, we all know not because of the suit, but that's just my thing. You know what I'm saying? For example, look in America. In America, for example, I was watching that This Is America skit where they were taunting this black guy who was playing hockey because this is a white sport. Black people shouldn't play hockey. It's kind of like that. It's okay for a particular group of people to wear a specific outfit or try a specific sport. But if it's not okay for a particular group of people to not try the sport. But it's okay for them to do it. And so culture appropriation for me kind of ties into double standards. It goes hand in hand. Because in one hand, it's okay for you to wear this, but then if I wear it, it's not okay. And so you have to realize, you have to realize that we all have to be a little bit more smarter when it comes to doing things like that. And so I'm going to end this note by saying that, if you want to be a free thinker, and if you want to change the world, you have to know what you're dealing with first. You have to know what you are seeing, and you have to know what are you trying to do to make a world a better place. You can't just go on TMZ and saying all this nonsense, but you don't have a clue of what you're doing. And I think that's the problem with technology these days. There's so much information, you can't tell whether it's fake or real. And so for me, if you want to be a free thinker, you have to do a lot of research and use it to convey what you think in a way that is positive. So yes. So I will say thank you everybody for watching this video, and I'm gonna get ready to do some videos vlogging today, and you guys take care.